A shepherd boy tosses a stone into a dark cave. The echo resonates differently than expected. He steps inside, his eyes adjusting to the shadows. And there, scattered across the floor, ancient jars hold secrets that will shake the foundations of biblical archaeology. Among hundreds of parchments written on fragile leather, one stands utterly alone, carved into pure copper, oxidized green by millennia. This is not scripture. This is not prophecy. This is a treasure map worth trillions of dollars. And it has never been found. The year is 1947. The location, the barren cliffs overlooking the Dead Sea. A Bedouin shepherd named Mohammed et Dib discovers what will become the greatest archaeological find of the 20th century. Scroll after scroll emerges from the caves. The Book of Isaiah, the Community Rule, texts that predate any known biblical manuscripts by 1,000 years. Scholars celebrate, the world marvels. But in 1952, in Cave 3, something different appears. Not leather, not papyrus. Copper, 2 rolled sheets of metal, so brittle with age, they cannot be opened without shattering. When archaeologists finally cut them into strips using a specially designed saw, they expect religious texts, hymns perhaps, or psalms. What they find instead defies every expectation. 64 locations, each one describing hidden caches of gold, silver, sacred vessels, and treasures beyond comprehension. The instructions are precise. Measurements given in cubits, landmarks referenced, depths specified. This is not allegory. This is not symbolism. This reads like an ancient logistics document, a careful inventory of unimaginable wealth, hidden in the chaos of war. By the end of this journey, you will know why this copper scroll is unlike any archaeological artifact ever discovered. You will understand the theories connecting it to the destruction of the Second Temple. You will see how modern technology has tried and failed to locate even a single cache, and you will confront the haunting question: was this treasure real? Or is it the greatest deception ever inscribed in metal? The answers lie not just in the past, but in what we choose to believe about the desperation of an ancient people facing annihilation. The Dead Sea Scrolls, as a whole, represent a library, a collection preserved by a Jewish sect known as the Essenes, who lived in the desert community of Qumran around the time of Jesus. They were ascetics, renouncing worldly wealth, dedicating themselves to purity, study, and prayer. They copied scriptures, composed hymns, recorded their community rules. When the Roman legions advanced in 70 CE, when Jerusalem burned and the temple fell, these scribes hid their most precious texts in caves, sealing them in jars, protecting the word for generations yet unborn. But the copper scroll breaks every pattern. It is not a religious text. It contains no theology, no prophecy, no praise. Instead, it lists, in methodical detail, enormous quantities of treasure, entry after entry, location after location. In the ruin that is in the Valley of Achor, under the steps leading to the east, 40 cubits down, a chest of silver weighing 17 talents. The language is terse, technical, almost bureaucratic. Scholars estimate the total value described, if the figures are literal, exceeds 200 tons of gold and silver. In today's currency, hundreds of billions of dollars. Some calculations reach into the trillions. Why copper? The material choice itself is extraordinary. Parchment decays, leather crumbles, papyrus disintegrates, but metal endures. Whoever inscribed this scroll wanted it to survive. They wanted it found, but only by those who could decipher its meaning. The act of engraving is laborious, expensive. Copper was valuable. This was not casual record-keeping. This was a deliberate, costly effort to preserve critical information. The script is Hebrew, but not the refined hand of a trained scribe. The letters are crude, uneven, hurried, as if the engraver worked under immense pressure, racing against time. Linguistic analysis reveals the text contains Greek loanwords, place names no longer recognizable. Some scholars believe the locations are encoded, deliberately obscured to prevent discovery by the Romans. Others argue the instructions are straightforward, but the landscape has changed so drastically over 2 millennia that the landmarks simply no longer exist. The most compelling theory links the Copper Scroll to the Second Temple, Jerusalem's sacred center, the holiest site in Judaism. When Titus and his legions besieged the city in 70 CE, the Jewish defenders knew the end was inevitable. The temple, a structure of unimaginable splendor, housed vast wealth, gold menorahs, silver trumpets, priestly garments woven with precious threads, offerings accumulated over centuries. Historical accounts describe the Romans plundering the temple, carrying its treasures back to Rome in a triumphal procession. The Arch of Titus still depicts legionaries bearing the great menorah through the streets, a symbol of conquest. But what if not everything was captured? What if, in the final desperate days, priests and Levites secretly removed the most sacred items, scattering them across the Judean wilderness, burying them in cisterns, caves, and ruins, recording their locations on copper so the knowledge would survive the coming darkness? This is not idle speculation. The Copper Scroll's entries reference the temple, the sacred vessels, items that match historical descriptions of the Second Temple's contents. The first modern attempts to locate the treasures began almost immediately after the scroll's translation in the 1950s. Archaeologist John Allegro led expeditions into the Judean desert, armed with the Copper Scroll's coordinates. He excavated cisterns, probed ruins, dug beneath ancient steps. He found nothing, not a single coin, not a trace of silver. Critics dismissed the scroll as a fantasy, a work of fiction, perhaps a symbolic text misunderstood. But Allegro believed he spent years searching, convinced the treasure was real. His failure did not disprove the scroll's authenticity. He argued it simply proved the locations had been too well hidden, or the landscape too altered by earthquakes, erosion, and human development. Decades later, new technologies revived the search: ground-penetrating radar, satellite imaging, advanced geological surveys. Researchers analyzed the scroll's language with fresh eyes, comparing ancient place names to modern geography. Some believe the treasure lies beneath modern buildings in Jerusalem, inaccessible without massive excavation projects that would never receive permission. Others theorize the caches were intentionally destroyed by later generations, who feared their discovery would bring disaster, or perhaps the Romans found them after all. And the Copper Scroll records losses, not hidden treasures, but plunder already gone. Yet the scroll's precision argues against mere fantasy. The measurements are too specific, the quantities too detailed. Ancient Jewish texts do not fabricate for entertainment. They record, they testify, they preserve. The Mishnah, the Talmud, these are not works of fiction. They are meticulous legal and historical records. The same culture that produced them produced the Copper Scroll. If this is allegory, what is it allegorizing? If this is metaphor, what reality does it symbolize? The simplest explanation remains the most unsettling. This is exactly what it appears to be: a desperate attempt to preserve knowledge of hidden wealth, inscribed by people who knew they were about to lose everything, who believed that someday, somehow, their descendants would return, reclaim what was lost, and restore what was destroyed. The emotional weight of the Copper Scroll transcends archaeology. It is a document of catastrophe, a snapshot of apocalypse. Imagine the scene: Jerusalem surrounded, fires consuming the lower city, the temple itself threatened, priests gathering in secret, making impossible decisions. What can be saved? What must be hidden? They work in darkness, moving objects of immense sanctity, burying them in places known only to a few, entrusting the locations to a metal record, sealing it, hiding it with the other scrolls, hoping against hope that the nightmare will end, that the temple will stand, that the knowledge will not be needed. But the temple fell. The priests died. The knowledge was lost, and the copper sheets lay hidden in a cave for 19 centuries, waiting. Modern scholars debate the scroll's authenticity with an intensity that reveals deeper anxieties. If the treasure is real, it represents not just wealth, but validation, proof that the biblical accounts are grounded in historical fact, proof that the Second Temple was as magnificent as described, that its destruction was as total, that the desperation of the Jewish people in those final days was as profound as tradition claims. But if the scroll is fantasy, if it is allegory or forgery, what does that say about our ability to trust ancient sources? Where do we draw the line between faith and history, between legend and fact? Some researchers propose an alternative theory. The copper scroll was not created by temple priests, but by the Essenes themselves. Perhaps it records treasures the sect accumulated over generations, offerings from sympathetic Jews who supported their desert community. When the Romans approached, the Essenes, like the temple priests, hid their wealth, intending to retrieve it when peace returned. This theory explains why the scroll was found with the other Dead Sea Scrolls. It also explains the crude engraving. The Essenes were not professional metalworkers. They were scribes and farmers, doing their best under impossible circumstances. Another intriguing possibility. The scroll is a copy. The original record, perhaps on parchment, was held by those who hid the treasure. The copper version was created as a backup, a safeguard against the loss of the primary document. If this is true, there may have been other copies, other records, now lost to time, or perhaps still buried, still waiting. The geographic specificity of the scroll tantalizes researchers. In the cave that is at the entrance to the fountain of Beth Shean, in the dry well north of the acacia tree, these are not vague descriptions, they are precise instructions. But 2,000 years is a long time. Rivers change course, trees die, buildings rise and fall. Entire cities are built over ancient ruins. Modern Jerusalem sits atop layers of history: Roman, Byzantine, Islamic, Crusader, Ottoman. Excavating beneath occupied structures is legally, politically, and practically impossible. If a treasure cache lies beneath a mosque, a church, a residential building, it will likely remain there forever, untouched, undiscovered. The psychological dimension of treasure hunting cannot be ignored. The copper scroll exerts a powerful pull on the human imagination. It promises not just wealth, but meaning, purpose, a tangible connection to the biblical past. Dozens of amateur treasure hunters have pursued its clues, some spending fortunes, others dedicating entire lifetimes. All have failed, yet the allure persists. Because the scroll offers something beyond gold and silver. It offers the possibility of uncovering truth, of holding in your hands an object that once rested in the temple itself. An object touched by priests who walked the same streets as Jesus, who witnessed the same events described in the New Testament. But there is a darker side to this obsession. Treasure hunting can become destructive. Unregulated excavation damages archaeological sites, destroys context, obliterates the very history seekers claim to value. Israeli authorities strictly regulate excavation. Permits are required. Professional archaeologists must supervise. This protects the sites, but it also frustrates those who believe they have solved the scroll's riddles. Convinced they know where to dig, they are forbidden from doing so. The copper scroll also raises profound theological questions. If the temple treasures were hidden, does that suggest God's people expected defeat? Did they lack faith in divine protection? Or does it demonstrate wisdom, prudence, a recognition that even in the face of catastrophe, the sacred must be preserved? Some rabbinical traditions teach that certain holy objects were never meant to be found, that they will only reappear in the Messianic age, when the temple is rebuilt, when all things are restored. From this perspective, the Copper Scroll is not a map to be followed now, but a promise, a testament that what was lost will someday be reclaimed by divine intervention, not human effort. The mystery deepens when we consider the scroll's final line. Damaged, partially illegible. It seems to reference another document, a copy of this writing, or perhaps the explanation of this writing, suggesting the Copper Scroll itself may require a key, a companion text that explains its codes, clarifies its locations, unlocks its full meaning if such a document exists. It has never been found. It may still lie buried, it may have been destroyed, or it may never have existed at all. A phantom reference, a final layer of obfuscation to protect the treasure from those who would misuse it. What remains undeniable is this: the Copper Scroll is real, it is ancient, it is unique, and it has never been satisfactorily explained by any theory that dismisses it as fiction or allegory. The effort required to create it, the material chosen, the content inscribed, all point to an original purpose rooted in desperate necessity. Whether that treasure still exists, whether it can ever be found, these are questions that may never be answered, but the scroll itself endures, a silent witness to a moment of unimaginable crisis, when a people on the brink of annihilation took extraordinary measures to preserve what they held most sacred. So, we are left with a choice. Do we believe the Copper Scroll records a real treasure, a tangible link to the biblical past, scattered across the Judean wilderness, waiting for the day when the faithful will reclaim it? Or do we interpret it as a symbolic gesture, a document of hope, a refusal to accept total defeat, a declaration that even in destruction, the sacred persists, hidden but not lost, obscured but not destroyed? Perhaps the true treasure is not gold or silver, but the scroll itself, a testament to the enduring human need to preserve, to remember, to believe that what is lost can someday be found, that what is broken can someday be made whole. If you want to uncover more mysteries of the ancient world, where faith, history, and archaeology collide, subscribe, and in the comments write, "The treasure is real." Next time, we hunt for the ancient secrets lurking beneath the waves of the Red Sea. Was the parting of the waters a miracle, or a rare atmospheric event called wind set down? Join us as we uncover archaeological evidence and the science behind the most epic escape in history. Don't miss it.